الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على من بعث بالسيف رحمة للعالمين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين. In the Kuffar's long war against Islam, they have attacked Islam and its people in many ways. When I say this, I don't only mean physically, rather I also mean psychologically. The same tactics they used to psychologically defeat the Christians is the same tactics they are currently using against Islam. They're fine with the world and all those in it ascribing themselves to Islam or Christianity or any other religion, so long as this does not come with proper appliance of the scripture the people of such religions hold dearly. You may call yourself a Muslim if you wish, a Christian if you wish, but you will accept what they force you to accept, be it homosexuality, democracy, or other than it. Your religion is to be practiced by you and you alone, and you have no right to force it upon anyone, neither your spouse, nor your children, nor other than them. Even then, you may only practice of it what they allow you to practice of it upon the understanding that fits their desires. The truth is, in order to achieve this goal, there were three major steps. These steps is what enabled them to achieve their long-running victory that they are currently enjoying today. They have won many battles, but inshallah the war will be won by the people of La ilaha illallah. So what were the three steps? The first step was to corrupt the rulers that governed the lands of the Muslims and the lands of the Christians, and ensure that the scriptures which the people of the land believed to be sent from God were not the governing authority of the land, in order to ensure that there be no opposition to their influence or power, possessing a fully equipped military and a strong economy. To defeat guerrillas is much more manageable than defeating an entire country. And to label guerrillas as villains is much more easier than labeling an entire leader of a country as a villain. Have you not heard of their philosophy of separation of church from state in order to kill Christianity from the hearts of the people in their own land? This step is quite easy, since apart from rare periods of history, the people in love with the worldly life, who give it precedence over their religious beliefs, always outnumbered those who put religion first. There are multiple candidates ready to take charge and implement the philosophy of their masters for worldly gains, and under them, there are many others who are willing to obey them for also a worldly gain. And I use the word philosophy here because other words such as democracy or socialism makes one immediately assume the West are the ones intended. Rather, it is not only the West, such as the US, but other countries such as Russia are also partaking in this game. Take the Chechen War, for example. How the Russian defeated their opposition was by installing a ruler obedient to them, following their commands, despite him claiming to share the same faith of the opposition, which was the Chechen guerrillas. So it's not only the Americans and their allies partaking in this, rather they are just the most dominant faction in this game. Once they have staged a coup or a rebellion and have taken care of the ruler that opposes them, the floor is now set to install their loyal puppet and ensure that their new ally will not establish what he believes to be the rule of God on this earth, nor establish a philosophy that opposes their own, although they are far more worried about the former than the latter. The latter may weaken their influence in that specific region, however the former will utterly crush their global influence. Look back at the Crusades, for example. During the Crusades, both Muslims and the Christians wanted full global influence across the globe, and the resurgence of any true Muslim or Christian nation will revive the dream of full global dominance. They won't stop at certain regions and borders. That is what terrifies those seeking to corrupt the lands of the people who follow a certain religion, and makes them keep on destroying full submission in the hearts of the people towards their religion. They wish full submission to be towards them, not towards the religions of the people. Now that you have installed an obedient puppy searching to fulfill his worldly desires and equipped him with a full military, you have, in their minds, crushed any physical opposition. What about the belief? This is step 2, corrupting the places of worship. It is from the saddest things to witness in today's age how much the scholars have sold their religion. Sheikh Nasr al-Fahd, Faqqahullahu Asru, said, I've read history from the time of Adam alayhi salam until today, and the scholars have never sold their religion as they are currently doing today. If a ruler was to govern his country according to his whims and desires, contradicting the faith of the people, then he must convince the people that he is upon the same faith as them and that he is still a legitimate authority over them that must be obeyed at all times in order to prevent any uprising against his regime. Who is it that teaches the people their religion, and where is it that they teach the masses? It is the scholars, the shuyukh or the priests in the case of Christians who teach, and it is in the masajid or the churches in which they teach the masses. Physically, it is the ruler who possesses greater impact on the lives of the people. It is he who governs them, grants them security, amongst other things, but it is here where his influence is cut off. Psychologically, it is the religious authorities who possess the greater impact on the people. So in order to fully dominate a nation, both must be corrupted simultaneously. If those seeking global dominance, corrupt the governing authorities and not the religious authorities, it is very easy for the religious authorities to convince the people that the governing authorities are enemies of said religion and persuade them into overthrowing the ruler. We've seen this happen recently in Syria, where the people turned against the ruler who was Bashar, and the only reason he's still breathing to this day is due to foreign intervention crushing his opposition, although he still suffered many losses throughout this battle. However, if you corrupt the religious authorities and not the governing authority, then this will also most likely lead to failure. Why? Because the military is in the hands of the ruler as well as intelligence, so it isn't a difficult task for him to silence any opposition towards his leadership. But if the corruption of only one of these authorities is possible, then to dominate a country, corrupting the religious authorities is far more crucial than corrupting the governing authority. This is because if the ruler is truthful towards his faith as well as his people, they will hold their scholars in high regards and take what they say into consideration and follow them in what they command, believing that they are teaching them the correct way to please God. The chances of a righteous ruler taking into consideration the poison of an evil scholar is far more likely than the chances of an evil ruler taking into consideration the words of a righteous scholar. History has proven this time and time again. Because a righteous ruler wants to please God, and so he will love those whom he believes are closer to God than he is, while an evil ruler only wants to please his desires. But although possible, corrupting only one authority will most likely than not lead to failure. And this enemy that we are up against is smart and leaves as little room possible for any slip-ups to occur. Once they have corrupted the authorities which impact the lives of the people, both the ruling authority and the religious authority, they have one more wall to break through before the castle is theirs for the taking. That is the honor of the men. I state men here and not women because it is the men who lead the physical and verbal opposition towards the enemy in many cases, although many faithful women also hold firmly onto their faith, although they're not typically the ones on the front line. Rather, it is they who raise the next generation which will be on the front line, or raise those who will give birth to the next generation after that. So what do I mean by the honor of men? This honor is not necessarily found in religious people, although it is properly directed when found in a religious Muslim man. It is the man's desire to conquer his enemies, defend his people and his beliefs against those who mock it. The desire to establish his authority, and to put it all into simple words, it is a man's desire for glory. It is for this reason that men like Genghis Khan established the largest empire in recorded history. It was for this reason that Alexander the Great conquered, and for this reason that Khalid ibn al-Walid radiallahu anhu said, "When I am in the battlefield, I love it more than my wedding night with the most beautiful of women." Men with the desire of glory will firmly stand against any attempted corruption or disrespect towards their religion, against any corruption in their governments, and against any harm towards their people. Wallahi, if you were to bring 10 of these men and face them against 10,000, they will fight until they are killed with a smile on their face. This desire knows no religion or philosophy. It is instilled in any man with an ounce of respect for himself. It is because of these feelings that the 21 Sikhs fought to the death against thousands upon thousands of Afghan tribesmen. It is because of this feeling that Salahuddin conquered Jerusalem, and the list goes on and on. So how does one go about defeating this feeling? Simply provide an alternative to men who possess this desire. You want to restore your honor and feel glory? Go join a kickboxing gym and punch random people. Don't go fighting against your major enemy. Or go running after a rubber ball and put it in a net and throw your arms up as if you're a king. That will satisfy the feeling. Or go to the gym and lift all day convincing yourself you're preparing for war despite the fact that they are currently massacring your brothers and sisters. Once everyone finds his way to satisfy this feeling and is overdrained, there is no energy left for defending the Muslims all over the world. They've spent their energy over nothing, believing that they are doing this to please Allah, when in reality they were only fulfilling their desires. With these 3 steps, they have apparently defeated Islam and Christianity, walakin they will never truly defeat Islam. It only appears to them as if they have defeated it, and the wise amongst them knows this. Because within Islam, there are Muslims who will stick to the truth even if they are only 10 and their enemies are 7 billion. They will fight until their final breaths, and no worldly pleasure will slow them down. Even if the corrupted scholars were to convince 1 billion so-called Muslims that they are Khawarij and terrorists, and they're successful in killing those 10, then one amongst the 1 billion misguided yesterday will inshallah be guided today and station himself in the front lines. You cannot defeat Allah. As Sheikh Mahmoud Sha'ban Fakkahullahu Asru said, an ummah that says La ilaha illallah does not bow down. So to those who really think that they defeated Allah, do you really think that a weak man who uses the washroom and eats and drinks and gets sick and sleeps and gets sad and angry will be able to defeat Allah? Allah says in the Quran, كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَأَخْلِبَنَّ أَنَا وَرُسُلِي إِنَّ اللَّهَ قَوِيٌّ عَزِيزٌ. And our Imam Ibn Kathir rahimahullah says regarding this, Allah has decreed, verily, I and my messengers shall be victorious, meaning he has decreed, written in the first book and decided in the decree that he has willed, which can never be resisted, changed or prevented. That final victory is for him, his book, his messengers and the faithful believers in this life and in the hereafter. وَتِلْكَ الْأَيَّامُ نُدَاوِلُهَا بَيْنَ النَّاسِ وَلِيَعْلَمَ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَيَتَّخِذَ مِنكُمْ شُهَدَاءَ وَاللَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الظَّالِمِينَ.